Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aaron Carpenter. I want to take a minute to thank you all for coming out tonight. I'd like to extend a warm and hearty welcome to each and one of you present tonight at the John Cooper School's College Recruitment Information Night, hosted with the enthusiasm by the Dragon Booster Club. It is truly an honor and a privilege to stand before such a distinguished gathering of parents, students, and esteemed guests who have taken the time to join us on this important occasion. We understand that the journey to college is a significant milestone filled with anticipation, questions, and perhaps even a bit uncertainty. Tonight, we are here to ease those uncertainties and provide valuable insight and guidance that will aid both parents and students as they navigate through the complex landscape of college athletic recruitment process. Our goal is to equip you with the knowledge and tools necessary to make informed decisions and helping to pave the way for a bright, successful future. We have a fantastic lineup of college athletic directors who are here to share their experiences, expertise, and advice. They are eager to answer your questions, clarify doubts, and offer a helping hand in this pivotal phase of your educational journey. Before I introduce our panel of guests, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the Dragon Booster Club for their unwavering support and dedication in making this event possible. Your commitment to the success of our students and the betterment of our community does not go unnoticed. Now let's meet our panelists. Anthony Asma is the Director of Athletics at Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. Anthony has over 20 years of college administrative experience with stops at Columbia University in New York City, as well as Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. Under Asma's guidance, the Bears have recorded 4 top 10 finishes in the Division III Learfield IMG College Directors Cup, 31 conference titles, 52 academic All-Americans, 12 individual national championships, 8 NCAA postgraduate scholarship recipients, and 2 national championships. During the 2022-23 year, a total of 452 student athletes received all-conference academic recognitions. A 1998 cum laude graduate of Vanderbilt University, Asma was a 3-year letter winner on the Commodore football team and received his bachelor's degree in human and organizational development. In 2015, he received his master's degree in business and administration from Miami University. Next, we have David Ansberg. He has been director of athletics at Colorado School of Mines since 2013. In his time at the Mines, Hansberg has presided over the most successful period in program history. Mines has won 7 consecutive RMAC All-Sports Competition Cups, as well as 66 RMAC team championships to go along with 3 NCAA Division II national championships. The Orediggers have also enjoyed an unparalleled academic success, including 134 academic All-Americans and 34 Bretschler Awards winners, which recognizes the RMAC's top GPA teams in each sport annually. A native of Roslyn, New York, Hansberg has held previous posts as Director of Athletics at the Alexander Dawson School in Lafayette, Colorado, Associate Athletic Director for Football Operations for the University of Colorado in Boulder, and Director of Football Operations for Northwest University. Hansberg received his bachelor's degree in history from Amherst in 1990 and earned a master's degree in higher education and administration and social policy from Northwestern in 1996. Next, we have Dr. Miriam Morrell, is the Director of Athletics and Chair of Physical Education at Pomona Pitzer College in Claremont, California. Prior to Dr. Merrill's arrival at Pomona, she served at Hamilton College in Clinton, New York as the Associate Director of Athletics and Senior Women Administrator. Dr. Merrill also spent time as the Director of Athletics at Richard J. Daley College in Chicago. Merrill received a bachelor's degree in communications from the University of Cincinnati, where she was inducted into the James P. Kelly Athletics Hall of Fame in 2012. Merrill became the first All-American honoree in Cincinnati women track and field program history. She was an 8-time All-Conference USA performer and was a 2001 recipient of the Helen Norman Smith Award, which honors the top female senior student athlete. Merrill has a master's degree in education, degree in sports administration from Xavier University, and she completed her doctorate of psychology and human movement from Temple University. And finally, we have Donald Brooks, Director of Athletics at Malcaster College in St. Paul, Minnesota. Donald has over 10 years of college administrative experience with stops at Millsap College in Jackson, Mississippi, and Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire, as well as Williams College in Williamstown, Mass. A native of Houston, Texas, he attended Springfield College in Massachusetts, where he was a member of the football team. He graduated in 2002 with a degree in business management and later earned a master's degree in sports management. This evening, our athletic director, John Hoy, will be leading a roundtable discussion to go through all the different aspects of the college recruitment process while talking to these individuals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron. How about one more round of applause for our all-star crew here tonight? As the night proceeds, you can see we have an email address up here. If there are some questions that you have, Coach Carpenter will be able to screen them, and we'll see at the end of the evening if we can get some questions from the audience to continue the conversation. So I want to really get into it with all of you guys. Thank you again for being here. Why don't we start out quick? Tell us about your school, just in case people don't know much about it. We're from all over the country. So, Anthony, if you want to start us off, please.
You said quick?
I said quick.
Washington University, obviously we're in St. Louis. We have about 14,000 total enrollment. That includes 7,000 undergrad, 7,000 grad. And I think the other thing you want to know is what we're known for: academic excellence, a commitment to research, and then a renowned medical campus.
Hey, David.
Thank you, John. Colorado School of Mines is located in Golden, Colorado, and we are primarily a STEM institution where you're studying to be some kind of engineer, although we do have economics and a little bit of business as well. We are a medium-sized school, so 7,000 total students, about 5,500 undergrad and 1,500 graduate students. We are very well known for mining. That's why we're called the Colorado School of Mines, but it's one of our smallest majors now. Only about 100 students are mining majors. We're also very well known for petroleum engineering, so we have a very large alumni base down here in the Houston area and across Texas. But the most popular major right now is mechanical engineering, and as someone who went to a liberal arts college, I was not smart enough to go to mines. Mechanical engineering is what I would call the liberal arts of engineering, because you could pretty much go into any industry you'd like with a mechanical engineering degree.
Perfect, thank you. One of the most interesting colleges, plural here, Miriam.
Yeah, so I'll start with, so Pomona College and Pitzer College make up my athletic department, but I'll start with the consortium. So there are 5 undergraduate institutions within our consortium. So 2 of them make up my athletic department. 3 of them make up the athletic department across the street. I do not name them. They are our rivals. And so Pomona College is about 1,700 students. Pitzer College is a little smaller, about 1,200. Pomona is the founding institution. And so, traditionally we have our larger programs are economics, neuroscience, those particular programs. And then Pitzer is actually the youngest in the consortium. And so they were founded in the 60s. And so like the period and time that they started are really founded in like social justice, sustainability, kind of all of those things that were, coming of age during that time of their inception. So, really great institution and program, because our student athletes and students can take classes at any of the 5 institutions. So you still get this small private liberal arts experience while having a bit of a university feel as well.
Thank you. And our Houstonian, Donnie.
Good to be with y'all tonight. Go Stros. And I'm going to try to talk quickly so I can get you home to the game. I'll do my part. But I think the thing I think that makes my place in a brief overview about what makes it special to me is small private liberal arts in a thriving city. I've been to and worked at several small private colleges in the middle of cornfields on the side of mountains, and those have been great experiences. But to be in a thriving city where I can eat what I want to eat, be at a Kendrick Lamar concert and take my daughters to a Taylor Swift concert in the same place 10 minutes away from our campus where I live, and then work with exceptional students who are majoring in a variety of things it's just been a different experience for me. We have roughly 2,200 students. All of those students are, I would say the majority of my student athletes right now are contemplating or currently in double majors right now. So again, the exceptional academics, which you see on the stage, but the opportunity to do it in a thriving city.
Thank you. Obviously, a wealth of knowledge here, but then a wealth of knowledge with the students that are attending the schools and a lot of academic success. A lot of us see Division I athletics on TV. We're Division II, Division III represented here tonight. What's the advantage, Division II, Division III, that you guys see from your experiences?
I can start being the only Division II member up here. You know, the motto of our division is life in the balance, and probably I think you'll hear it from the Division III people as well, is you're definitely more of a college student at our level. You're not really doing your sport 24 hours a day. You're going to class. Your academic success is just as important as your athletic success. At the Division II level, we are not, we do give athletic scholarships in Division II, but we're not what's called head count. We don't have head count sports. So in Division I, football, men's and women's basketball, both are all or nothing. So if you're getting a scholarship, it's the whole shebang, and if you're not, you're getting nothing. In Division II, we're able to break up our scholarships. We could give you $10. We could also give you a full ride. We have fewer scholarships in Division I across our sports. But I think if you want to play college sports regardless of the level, you really got to love it. You got to love the game. You definitely are going to put in some time. You definitely will sacrifice a few other things that you may not otherwise be able to do regardless of Division I, II, or III.
Community and for all the right reasons. So having benefited from that as a Division III athlete, I'll also add that the talent is there. There's so many Division I level student athletes who choose to play at the Division II and Division III level for a variety of reasons. I challenge you not to overlook it, but also don't take it lightly, because there's some folks at the Division III level who are here for a variety of reasons, and number one is because they love it and they approach it like they love it. And for you football players like myself, they will try to rip your face off because they love it the same.
Okay, just one thing I'll quickly add is certainly the student athlete experience mirrors the student body experience, right? So it's very, very similar. Our student athletes are studying abroad at the same numbers that the general student body are. And as a Division I student athlete, no one talked to me about studying abroad, like that was a thing. But our coaches are actually encouraging students to be able to do that. So having an experience that largely matches the general student body allows students to really kind of engage in something they really love and come out with a degree and experiences that are very similar to the general student body.
We always say two things when we're talking either to recruits or to our incoming class. One, Division III is not 13th grade. Two, it's not mutually exclusive to be able to explore your intellectual aspirations academically while also loving the sport, loving buying into something bigger than yourself, and also loving to be around teammates that love it as much as you love it. The other thing I'll add is there's no such thing as four-year scholarships. They're one-year renewal, and you would basically have to flunk out if you had an academic scholarship from the standpoint of financial aid. You basically have to quit before the institution would give up on you. So what I would say to folks is it's a business decision. As you look at this, may be the first time that you'll be making a business decision based upon not just the shiny objects of what you'll see with your name on a jersey or something set up in a locker room during your visit, but at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, what are these 4 years going to set me up for? Are they going to set me up for the next 40 years of success? Because at some point, for all of us, the sweat dries and you got to hang up the jersey, and what has that 4-year experience prepared you for? It is not just 4 walls of a classroom. It's really about the entire experience that a college campus is providing, as well as what is that coach providing you? Because anybody can coach a game, but or coach and change a game, but we're trying to have and trying to create a transformative experience through our coaches and through the life lessons that you learn in playing sports.
I also think it's important to understand that just because the numbers are 1, 2, 3, it doesn't mean that one's better than the other. I could tell you, as someone who coached and administrated in Division I, played in Division III, and now I'm in Division II, there are plenty of Division III programs across the country that are better than a lot of Division IIs and better than a lot of Division Is. So don't get caught up in the 1, 2, 3 thing, because it's a total misnomer, and you will hear some Division I coaches try to tell you that, well, we're better than 2 or 3, but a lot of these schools, well, all 4 of our schools up here I'd put up against a lot of D1s, and we'd take them in a lot of sports.
So if I'm a student, if I'm a family, and I have aspirations to be recruited, what are some steps that you would suggest families start looking to do, especially if it's a school that's not necessarily in your region where you don't get as much exposure? What are things that you would suggest to those families so you can get on their radar?
Just to start off with some simple things. One, every athletic department on their website has an online questionnaire that you can fill out to kind of put yourself and get yourself on the radar. Second thing is, if your sport is appropriate for a camp that's being hosted by a particular school or in a particular region, you want to be able to attend that camp. And then the third thing I would say, and I'm not in any particular order, is to actually visit the school. And as you go through the admissions process and they'll give you the tour and all that, if you can, try to visit the athletic department and try to visit with the coach or assistant coach so you can see and get a feel for, does this meet your non-negotiables, the list that you have to see, experience, feel, touch, to know if that school should be on your short list of institutions that you're going to continue to pursue.
As a former Division III coach, I think one of the most important experiences any student can have is to go be coached by the coach. And so for those of you who are looking for this kind of experience, an elite academic experience that matches an elite athletic experience, I think you have to put yourself in the best situation to expose yourself to as many coaches as possible. So for us, we do spend a lot of time with other high academic schools at camps. So I think you have several kind of camps. I think you have the ID camps where you could go to one school and be coached by just that coaching staff, but you have other institutional camps where they invite many coaches there. My preference for you as somebody who's giving you some advice today is go where you could be seen and coached by the most coaches. I do think the hard part about when you show up at certain camps, for instance, if you go to University of Houston or Boston College, you'll show up, there'll be a lot of coaches there, and they really don't get to coach you. You want to go to a place that's a smaller camp but has several coaches where you could actually have interactions with the coach. They could see you play. They could see your tendencies. These are the conversations that we were having and we are currently having about students. Like we want to not only watch you play from the sideline in a lawn chair, we actually want to coach you and see how you respond to our coaching. I think Anthony also mentioned you want to go visit a school, and I think there are great institutions and great camps at those institutions. I think one of the things I challenge you to do, and this may answer another question, is like love the coaches who are loving you. There may be some schools that don't have the name recognition that you're looking for, but if that coach is loving you, it's for a reason. If they can respond to you and say, I saw you play at this camp and you did these 3 things that were really important to me, I think you take heed to listen to that coach and see what else the school maybe has to offer.
I think there's so much information at your fingertips these days, and I think it's easy to do a lot of research. It takes some time, but definitely fill out the questionnaires, as these guys have alluded to, and then really try and have a realistic view of your own ability. If you spend your time going to a lot of Division I camps, but you're not a Division I caliber athlete, then you're missing out on some amazing opportunities at Division II and Division III. So I think the first thing you need to do is really get a grip on how good you are and are not, and that can be difficult. But if you fill out those questionnaires and send some video and your transcripts and whatnot out to a lot of different schools, the coaches will tell you where you belong. You will get an idea of where you are. And when I say research, it's really important because let's say you're a soccer goalie. I'm using that as an example on purpose. You can look at the roster of the schools you want to go to and see how many soccer goalies they have. And is the soccer goalie who's a freshman this year, who's 1 year ahead of you, starting for them? Well, might not be a good place for you to go just based on timing. If you're a quarterback in football and you're 5'9" and you're a heck of a player, there are a lot of quarterback coaches in Division I that you're not going there. They're not, they want someone who's 6'2", and there's not much you're going to be able to do about that. So you have to really have a realistic viewpoint of where you fit, how good you are, and then remember, you're only going to say yes once. You can only pick one place. You can't go to 2 or 3 or 4. So you want to create choices, and you want to create opportunities at a bunch of different places, and don't feel bad saying no to 9 out of 10 because you can only say yes to 1. Don't feel bad at all. That coach has heard no 10 times more than he or she has heard yes. So that's how it works. To get that one goalie, if they really need a goalie, they're going to offer 10. So they're going to get 9 no's. So just try and think of the big picture and where you fit and do your research. And I think what Donnie said is important. Act like you want to go to all 10 so that you get opportunities at all 10. And then you pick the one you like the best. Yeah, I mean, do not pay a dime for recruiting services. That's a waste of money. You can fill out the questionnaires, you can email the coaches, you can go to their camps, and you can send them your video. And if a coach is interested, they're going to reach out. The coach doesn't care what these recruiting services say, just so you guys know. I was in charge of walk-ons at CU Boulder for the football program for a long time, and I actually hung a picture of a 9th grader up on my wall because he was about 5'2", 106 pounds, and had all these amazing stats. And I got this picture of this guy from a recruiting service, and I thought it was awesome because this kid had no chance ever of playing probably college football anywhere. But he paid his money, and for his money, he had his picture sent out all across the country, and I hung it in my office as an example for kids and parents to see when they wanted to come walk on. I'm playing at the time in the Big 12 because I thought it was a great example of money not well spent.
I do want to add that there are likely 1 or 2 good recruiting services out there. I don't think they're all completely bad, and I do think we benefit at our level from some of these recruiting services. But I will also say the power of social media is there. You can tell your story every day, every week through social media. The thing that I encourage you to do is if you see the trends on social media, your GPA is really important. Don't be afraid to throw it on your Twitter handle. Don't be afraid to throw your SAT or ACT on the Twitter handle because I think for us, particularly my coaches, it encourages us. When we don't see those things, it just adds a lot more questions and a lot more time for us. And it's not that we don't want to turn over every stone, but if you want to be noticed, continue to work hard in school and don't be afraid to celebrate it on Twitter.
So we got into social media a little bit. Let's talk about things that students shouldn't be doing. Maybe it's social media, or maybe it's contacting coaches, or what and whatnot. But what are things that students probably shouldn't be doing that would hurt their recruitment?
I'll just start with a couple things. One, I think we all know the rules of social media. If you wouldn't want to see your parents or your grandparents seeing it on social media, don't post it. We find those things. Your future teammates will find those things, and sometimes they'll make fun of you because of those things. So just know that you may not feel it right now, but everybody's watching. I think the other thing to avoid, and this is kind of later on in the recruiting process, is that when I talk about love, who's loving you, there's going to come a point where schools give you offers, and a school like some on the stage here, when it comes down to acceptance rates, like they're going to accept 1 out of every 10 students who applies to the institution. Last year, we turned down 4 out of every 5 students who applied to Macalester. It's getting tougher to get into a lot of great schools. When coaches give you advice about where you stand in the recruiting process, take their advice.
Yeah, and one thing that I think I would add to that is making sure that as the student that you are leading the recruiting process and not your parent, right? Because you're going to need to make sure that, A, you're able to connect with coaches, institution, right, and what you want to do, and let that be your voice, right, as opposed to parents. Oftentimes, it's great that coaches get to meet parents because they say, hey, when we got you, we got your family too, but you should technically be the one leading that and not your parent. Now, that doesn't mean that parents can't say, hey, make sure you're asking these questions, but whenever calls are had, and I know a lot of our coaches have moved to Zoom since the pandemic, it shouldn't be the parent talking the whole time. So just making sure that your voice is the one that's being heard throughout the process.
I think with social media, you should use it as a tool to highlight your strengths. And I do agree. I think if you have a good GPA, coming out of this school has an amazing reputation, and so promoting that you're coming from John Cooper School, that's okay. It's a certain kind of kid that's coming out of here, and you guys have a great reputation. So anything you can put on your social media or in your email or in your any kind of communication, you got to promote yourself a little bit. Don't be afraid to do that. Put it out there, and be prepared. And mom and dad should help you. You will get rejected, right? There will be some moments that are tough when maybe that school that was high on your list isn't interested in you. Just be ready for that. But that's kind of life. And I really think social media, probably all of us, I know we do at Minds, we have to talk to our athletes about social media every single year. And they're in college. But just remember, all of your future employers are looking at your social media, just like your potentially future coaches are looking at your social media. It is an evaluative tool. And oftentimes, unfortunately, it reveals some things about students' characters that maybe a coach will turn a coach off. So just be really smart about what you put out there. And that just goes for the rest of your life, to be honest.
Okay, we had a couple transition points, and we talk about the students, but parents, let's talk about parents. What are some things parents should do, and then also some things parents maybe shouldn't do that could hurt the recruiting process of their child?
So I think I'm actually going to talk about once your student athlete makes it onto campus, so parents lock in with me here, okay? So the thing I want you to think about is just the way that your relationship will shift for your student athlete. So normally in high school, you're making sure they do everything, you're on top of them. Sometimes you're making calls for them. Most of the time you're making calls for them. Whenever they go to college, they are young adults, and that is our expectation. And so if a student athlete calls you frustrated, there are two things I want you to ask them. One, are you calling for me, are you calling because you need me to listen? Or two, or are you calling because you need me to help you problem solve? Very two different things. If they say, I need you to help me problem solve, then the question you'll ask follow-up is, who have you talked to? So I'm sure during orientation there'll be all these places that make sure that our students are successful. Go down the list. Have you talked to this person, this person, this person? So that's the way that to help you shift your mentality so that once they get on to campus, you can support them in the best way. One of the things that I tell parents is I don't take phone calls on playing time or anything like that. I'm not at practice. You're not at practice. So we can't really determine who should be starting in the playing time that your student athlete should be having. However, a student athlete can always come into my office and we can have a conversation about how they have a conversation with assistant coaches or the head coach on how to get playing time or how to play better. But it's really not about making that phone call on behalf. The last thing that I'll say is I also tell parents, if you email me, just know I'm going to CC your student athlete or I'm going to call them and let them know you called. 9.5 times out of 10, they are embarrassed. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe my dad or my mom called. So save them that embarrassment and support them in those other ways. That's not necessarily recruiting, but the shift that you make once they're actually on campus.
I think Miriam referred to this before, but the whole college process, and I just finished my third one and the last one. So, I mean, it sucks being an empty nester, but it's not so bad, all right? And I can tell you from a parent perspective, going through 3 college application processes, and one of whom was an athlete, it's hard. It's really can be stressful for parents. I completely empathize with all of you and what you're going through. So I think the most productive thing you can do is really empower your student athlete to advocate for themselves and to write that email and send it to 100 coaches. You can help them write the email, but it should come from them. And when the coaches call, if they start calling, then let your student athlete go to their room and have the phone conversation by themselves. The coach wants to get to know the student athlete because they're going to add them into the locker room and the culture and do they fit, and again, you've probably done an amazing job with your child already. So let them take control and just guide them. And some of you may have to schedule like a 6 p.m. meeting in the kitchen to write that college essay, right? Because you can't seem to get your student athlete to do some of the stuff that is maybe not that desirable to do, and that's okay too. But it's really important in this part of the growing up process that the student take control, because the coaches are watching that. That is a very big evaluator, and at all levels, coaches will reject recruits because of mom and dad. I promise. I've done it. I've seen it. I've had those conversations in football staff meetings. We've literally cut kids because we don't want to deal with the parents. So it's hard sometimes. I get it. But just be positive with them and constructive. And to speak a little bit more about what Miriam said, the most important thing that anyone's going to get out of college is they become an adult. That's the number one lesson you get out of college. You learn a lot of stuff, great, but when you go in as a 17, 18-year-old and you come out a 22, sometimes 23-year-old, you are a totally different human being, and that's the greatest lesson college gives to your kids, is they go in a kid and they come out an adult, and you want to let that process happen.
There's two things that come to mind with what was said previously. You go to college to develop. Hopefully you get a chance to go through a transformative experience. When you do it as a student athlete, there's a little bit of a stress test that's included with a lot of the life lessons and the failure and the successes that you have to go through to help build resiliency. But the real goal of those 4 years is to create future value. And so being able to have those tough conversations is a part of that maturation process. And there's so much respect that's given to young people who are a part of our programs that's willing to have that tough conversation. And Miriam, you brought up a really good point, because recently I had a situation with a student athlete who was just, they were on 10 about, the lack of opportunity, my time versus my turn, so to speak. And what I try to do is be a sounding board and really, let's walk through that process. We walked through it. He texted me 10 minutes later. I was like, ooh, that didn't feel like it was a good meeting. better turn in my advice card. But what came out of it was he felt better about the situation. The coach gave him a lot of respect for coming into his office and having the conversation, because it wasn't an effort issue. It was the student athlete really didn't see the big picture and really didn't understand what his role was. So two people having a conversation and really figuring out the path forward really turned out great for both parties. And to make a long story short, I'm seeing a different side of this kid from the standpoint of the attitude and the excitement that I saw when they came in as a first year. And so, again, transformative process. The question that I followed up with him about was, how does this help you moving forward? When you have to have that tough conversation with a boss or the person that's overseeing your internship, and you want to know clearly what's the expectations of me, and then what resources will I have to be able to meet those expectations. That's adulting 101. And to see that young person go through that, that's kind of what we're talking about as far as the full circle.
I meet with all of our top recruits, and so I tell our coaches, if it's a kid we love, I want them in my office. And I sat in my office about a week ago with 2 parents and a student, and the dad asked and answered every single question. And so when I left the meeting, I went out and I saw the coach and I kind of waved at him, and she gave me the same nod. And when I talked to her later in the day, I said, well, what do you think? And she said, I think that the dad just lost the kid to slide. The thing I hope you can do is trust us. Trust that we care about your students' growth and development. But when we see that their growth and development has been stunted before they even get to us, it's worrisome, and it's challenging. And so we are making investments year-round in your sons and daughters when they choose to go to our school. But I think there are a lot of coaches out there who will take a player who's marginally, possibly less talented, for parents that they don't feel like they have to be worried and concerned about calling them when every single playing time issue, because I'd say the 99% of the time it's about playing time. Our coaches will tell you if it's about anything that has to do with the health, wellness, anything, give us a call, but we don't talk about playing time. And so I do think I ask you to consider what you look like and what your experience should feel like in the recruiting process. It should not be at the forefront of the recruiting process. We want to see the student start to take control, because that's what we hope they will do in their 4 years of development. And then last but not least, I think, as our job is to grow and develop students over the 4 years, I'm going to ask you not to answer the first phone call. So you're driving away, you're about to head to the airport, you're about to get on the plane, and your son or daughter is going to call you and say, I forgot this, can you go to Target for me? And I'm going to tell you, don't answer the first phone call, because that's the first time you've dropped them off to us with the folks who are going to care and develop and work with them over the next 4 years. And we have to train them, right? Who do you call when you get into trouble? Your parents are 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 miles away. They're in another country now. Their first call should be their teammates, should be their coaches. I know we all have like these mentoring programs that we have. There's a lot of support. We need them to start learning how to use the support ASAP. So don't answer the first phone call.
You talked about investment, right? Investment in the people, in the students. But let's talk about investment in the affordability of attending a Division III school, because that's a different part that I think families need to consider when they're choosing the university to attend. What from your experiences, how does it work at your schools that you've been at?
Yeah, I think the great thing for us is we meet full demonstrated need, but we also offer merit. We know college is a really challenging decision right now, and as someone who took out a lot of debt to go to school, you could sometimes when that first check is due to, back then I think it was Sally Mae and then Mohila, I think it's now, but you ask that question, was this the right thing to do? I think now working at an institution who values not having students go into great debt to graduate, and I think we're all in that situation. It's a beautiful thing. But I also say the merit scholarships help. So students, as you're thinking about the curriculum that you're taking now, I know all of you are thinking, should I take this AP course? And I know I got to study for 3 extra hours. On the back end of that, I've seen students receive merit that make us less expensive than a lot of your state options here in the state of Texas. So I just continue to do well in school, and a combination, my hope is of merit and meaningful need will hopefully make it a more affordable option than some of the schools you're thinking about.
3 things that I'm really excited about that the university did since 2021. One was the recent announcement of no loan. So they've eliminated federal loans that's included in financial aid, so students can graduate without any debt. The second thing is the need blind, that we don't take anything into consideration to determine whether or not you can pay, at what level you can pay. And then the last thing is what Donnie said, as far as being 100% full need, demonstrated need for all accepted students. I mean, that to me really aligns with my values and something that I believe, because I think talent exists in every zip code. Just access and opportunity does not. And so what role is the institution playing to make sure they are becoming more accessible for the talent that exists in different zip codes?
Donnie promised you his answers were going to be short so he could get you out for the game. I'm not sure he's following up on that, so I'll make mine short.
Amen. I'm glad somebody said that, because he out here giving an infomercial.
Now it starts.
So Pomona College, need blind, without loans, and then Pitzer College will have packages with merit because we are need aware.
So we're a little different. We're a public Colorado State institution. We don't have the big bankroll endowments that these three people have.
Here we
But
go.
no, but public service announcement, FAFSA is changing drastically this year. So those of you who have gone through this before, just be on the lookout for some information that's already out there about how they're going to reevaluate financial aid through the FAFSA. But what I'll tell you about Colorado School of Mines is what we sell is we obviously give scholarships for athletics, so you can get some money based upon your ability or what the coach thinks your ability is. And as Anthony mentioned, they are one-year deals, and they're renewable every year. You meet with the coach and see where you are after each year to see how much money you get. But we also do give merit-based aid. Typically, out-of-state students are, depending on their grades and GPA, and we don't mandate test scores anymore. The whole state of Colorado did away with that. You can get up to $14,000 of merit-based aid. Our out-of-state tuition is about $62,000 all in. That's housing, meals, tuition, the whole thing. What I will tell you about our school, we are a little unique because we are a STEM institution, is I've been there a long time. I like that families have a little skin in the game at Mines because the ROI on our degree is crazy. Our wide receiver coach on our football team, he's a very sharp guy. He got a master's degree from Mines, and actually he's been studying his wide receiver position graduates over the last several years, and their starting average salary is up to $100,000 for when you get out. So I think at Mines we're a little unique because of the ROI so many of our students are getting, in particular the student athletes. So I'm trying to push my coaches to sell to families, look, it's good to have some skin in the game. You know what? Put a little money into this because you're going to get it back when you're done.
The other thing we didn't mention is based on how far you go in the recruiting process, I think it's important that you ask the coach, being the student athlete, ask the coach for an early read. That will allow you to really find out where you're at on the scale as far as cost to attend an institution.
And one other thing that's recent is there are some schools, namely in the Ivy League, that are encouraging student athletes to not take the test, which I think is a big mistake. I think you should take the ACT or SAT. You don't have to submit it to schools, but it's a good barometer of where you are and where you stack up academically. For some kids, I know at Mines, we do want to see you take a test, and I think all of us on the stage, we all come from very elite academic institutions, and we want you to take a very challenging class load. If you can take calculus as a senior, but you're taking stats, I know my coaches see that as a red flag. Wow, this student doesn't want to work hard, right? So it's not just an academic thing, it's a coaching thing. So take challenging course loads and challenge yourself, because if you're willing to challenge yourself academically, you're probably willing to challenge yourself on the field, on the court, in the weight room, in everything that you do. So don't be fooled, and don't let that senioritis kick in right on the tail end of junioritis, if you know what I mean.
And I just want to underscore that point. So we had 3 teams that had the highest GPA in the NCAA, which means that our students are very bright. So taking it easy your senior year will not help you at either institution that I'm at. So continue kind of the rigor and the academic challenge that you're having so that, an opportunity to be at any of our institutions is an option for you.
I'll briefly add, each of our schools has a calculator online that you as a parent can go on and start to work through the financial aid calculator. But for those of you who are in your senior year, do you all use a CSS profile? Yeah, I think a lot of like-minded schools use a CSS profile where you fill it out and it spits out the most accurate number for what your financial aid will look like without merit.
Perfect. And we still have some time, but if anybody has some questions that are popping into your mind, please email Aaron Carpenter, and we'll get to those at the end here. So a wealth of knowledge from all of you. I see you writing some notes as we go on. Two things. I'd like to see, one, if there's anything else that we haven't touched on that you're like, oh, I might want to mention this. And then number two, I do want to give you guys an opportunity to briefly talk about your university and why it is such a great place to be. Donnie, you want to start off?
Yeah, boy.
Are we sure we want him to start?
There's so many
I know
things.
he's from Texas, but come on
There's
now.
so many things. I'm going to take the long way around the barn on this one, Anthony. I will say, I think there are a lot of special institutions. I've been fortunate to work at several of the top institutions in the country, if not the world. And then I went to one that just was different. And McAllister's in the Twin Cities, and the Twin Cities could be the coldest place in the world, what it feels like on some days. But on other days, I realize I'm in a really special community where students who have been on campuses and been told that they can change the world, and they believed it, a lot of those students come to McAllister. And then there are these other students who don't know or never been told they could change the world, and then they get there, and then they hang out with world changers for 4 years. And what do you think when they feel like they could do when they leave McAllister? Change the world, right? And so when you work with those kind of students, it's a challenge as an athletic director. That's a heavy backpack to wear. And so it's made me dare to be different. We provide, like many of us up here, Division I-like resources for our students. So defensive coordinators not teaching you how to train in the weight room. It's full-time strength and conditioning coaches. We have a nutritionist. A sports psychologist is in our building 3 times a week. We're really trying to support our students in a different kind of way. So I think you could actually have it all in a small college liberal arts environment. You don't have to give stuff up in order to take on your education. You could actually have it all, and I think McAllister is a place that showed me that.
So one thing that I did not tell you when I first started is that we are in 35 miles east of LA. Do I have to say anything more than that? No, it really is the consortium, right? Is being able to kind of take classes at different institutions and really have that small private liberal arts experience. Athletically, we've had a lot of successes. So we had our 2-time cross-country national champions, 2-time women's water polo national champions. So it's at a place where you can certainly be taxed mentally in your classes, and then also taxed physically to the highest degree, and really have a great experience doing those two.
I think the one thing I would say about the recruiting process, I'm going to get to the ring. A lot of student athletes and families feel like recruiting is something that happens to you, and it's kind of like buying a car. You don't really know what really is the value of the car, and you always just leave. You never feel great about it. But I think hopefully what you heard from us here tonight about recruiting is you can take a lot of control of it yourself, and you should, and it's okay. Coaches actually appreciate that. So things like being proactive with the questionnaires, being proactive with the film, being proactive with emails, being proactive with going to camps. Don't be afraid to ask hard questions of coaches. How much money am I going to get? It's okay. Take control of it. Don't let it just happen to you. That's okay to do. And again, just have your thick skin on and be ready to hear some no's from some people won't be interested in you, but some people will be interested in you, and focus on the people who are interested in you. So just if I had to say one thing about the process is you can take way more control over it than you realize you can. And it's not that hard to do so. In terms of Colorado School of Mines, we're definitely a unique institution in terms of being STEM and engineering. You got to really want it. You don't just show up to Mines thinking, oh, maybe I'll try this, because your freshman year, regardless of your major, you're going to be in physics, chemistry, and calculus right out of the gate. But one of the things that makes that environment unique, and that it's one of the reasons we're so good in athletics, is everyone's in it together. So there's, when I coach football at Northwestern, the kids who are struggling, because it's a good academic school, we put them into organizational behavior major. So we had a place for them, even at Northwestern. There's nowhere to hide at Mines. You are in it, and if you're not prepared for it, it'll spit you out real fast. So we're not really interested in recruiting students who think they want to do it. We recruit students who know they want to do it, and they're ready to work hard. And I think like I said, that results in a winning culture in all of our locker rooms because there is that shared sense, that shared purpose. You know, we have the #1 ranked football team in the country right now. Our men's cross country team is ranked #1 in the country. They've won several national championships. Most of our teams are ranked nationally, and many of them have been ranked #1 in the country. And I do think it's a function of the academics as well as all the resources we provide our student athletes. They go together because everything we do at Mines is about being the best and being excellent in everything that we do. That's our goal. So, and I think I'll tell you a story. John Matoka, who's from right up the street, he's our quarterback for our football team, and he's from Magnolia. He is a comp sci major, and he won the Harlan Hill Trophy last year, which is the Heisman Trophy for Division II. And when it got out on social media, one of his comp sci professors commented underneath the post and said, "I didn't even know John Matoka was on the football team, let alone he was the best football player in the entire nation. I just thought he was a good computer science student." And that's Mines in a nutshell right there. You don't know who's an athlete and who's not because they're all in class. They're all just students like everybody else. So it's a really unique place like that.
I have to answer your second question the way I think what enticed me to come to WashU and be the athletic director in 2017. And I really think that this was one of the first places, or maybe one of the few places, where you can earn it all. You can graduate with a world-class degree in one hand, a chance to compete for championships in the other, and be prepared for a career at grad school. Our graduation rate with student athletes is 99%. That's 5 points higher than that of the student body. Our job placement rate is 96%. That's 4 points higher than that of the student body. Our average GPA is 3.7. That's a couple hundredths of a point higher than that of the student body. But one of the things I'm most proud of is something that we put in place about a year ago, which we call a Center of Excellence. We put a lot of money into our sports medicine space, where we have more trainers and a strong relationship with our medical campus, which is not the norm for Division III. We put a lot of money into our sports performance with a brand new sports performance center, 3 sports performance coaches. But if you're going to do that on the physical side, you need to do it on the mental side. So we have mental health, 4 mental health cohorts that work in our building with our student athletes, as well as students who compete. And then we've done something over the last 4 years, which has been really exciting, which we brought somebody in to do enrichment services for student athlete development. That's everything from bringing somebody in to talk about financial literacy, to have somebody come in and really help our student athletes learn how to market themselves as student athletes 48 hours before we had our job fair, to really help our student athletes put their best foot forward. Basically, what we're trying to do is take whatever's great on our campus that students have access to allow our student athletes who at times are time poor to have the access to. So these 5 areas we think is really helping build our student athletes from the inside out. And it's really unique and special to be at a place where the athletic director, the vice chancellor of student affairs, and the chancellor are all in alignment. I'm at an institution that's trying to find a cure for cancer. But at the end of the day, it's not an either-or proposition. It's an but Anthony, slow down situation. And that's unique. And I think that's the reason why I've been there and continue to enjoy the joy of developing young people through athletics.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Coach Carpenter, I think he has a couple questions from the audience.
My wife has also texted I need to pick up bread and milk on the way home.
Good man.
Okay, a couple questions.
Hey, he took the call, Danny. He took the call, Danny.
Would you speak to the timeline of recruiting? How early is too early to start contacting coaches and filling out recruiting forms? And more importantly, how late is too late? Are coaches looking for senior athletes?
It depends on the sport. I think every sport recruits differently. I'm going to generalize a little. I think the female sports they're more organized and they're identifying quicker than male sports. Some of that's just from a development standpoint. But it really does depend on the sport. You can never be too early, because coaches will respond to you if they think you're too early. They'll probably tell you, if you email them as a sophomore, their response will be, come to our camp. That's what they'll tell you. So I don't think that you're ever too early, but just know that when you're 13 or 14 as a freshman, you don't look like or move like or play like what you're going to play or how you're going to play when you're a junior or senior. But it does kind of go sport by sport.
I think junior year is a perfect year to start putting your name out there. Some students start earlier, but I think junior year is when we really start tracking on students across sports. You end up in a database if you're there any earlier than that, but based on times when we could contact students, we're really kind of honing in at the end of your junior year on who we want to hope to see at camp going into your senior year. I also think, yes, we are recruiting seniors, but we've shifted a lot to look more like our peers. Last year, roughly 75 of our students who chose Macalester decided early decision 1 or early decision 2, and I think that's probably true for the majority of schools who consider themselves elite academic schools.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add is, certainly if you're thinking about going to an institution that is high academic, early decision is where you really want to focus in.
Okay, next question. How do coaches use social media in the recruiting process? Are players recruited through social media, or is it used once athletes are identified?
I think different sports are different, and I think football for us right now, we're really honed into going to camps, but Twitter is the primary space. I don't know if there's anything like Twitter for other sports. Twitter has just become, more so than anything else, a football recruiting kind of central location where we know we can go, and find students with 3.5 or better GPAs who we want to recruit. So Twitter has made our jobs a bit easier.
And I'll add some of those individual sports like swim and dive, track and field, right? Coaches really aren't using Twitter per se. They're looking at times, all of that, and then reaching out. So social media might be a way for them to understand whether you might be a great fit culturally, but it's not, some of those individual sports aren't necessarily using social media in the same way that some of the team sports are.
I think if you follow a coach or a program and all that, and you're liking and all that, you're showing interest, and that's good to do. A few years back, I had an older football coach who didn't know the difference between Twitter, Instagram, so he barely knew how to use a cell phone. So he was doing nothing, to be honest. But I think if you can like and follow and pay attention, that's just another way coaches see that, oh, this person is really interested in us. Coaches like when you're interested in them quite a bit, especially at our level.
Yeah, I think every sport is a little bit different in how they use social media. Mara makes a good point. Sports that's big on times, that's important. But I think across the board, social media gives you an insight into character. Because what you're bringing on is that brand. Kids aren't born on a college campus, so does that, I don't like the word fit, does that complement the culture that you're trying to build in a locker room? And all of us recruit nationally. And so that part is important. And to the point about, the involvement of parents, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? That affects how a coach views the bodies that they're bringing in into their space, into their locker room, because you want to sustain excellence, not subtract from it. And so you want to bring people that really will complement, add to the culture that you're trying to build, especially with some sports, you may be bringing in 25, 30 recruits, right? And I think that matters just as much as if in other sports like swimming, you may be bringing in a smaller number of recruits, because each one of those individuals can affect the dynamic that you're trying to build with the success that you're trying to sustain.
Last question. Multi-sport athlete, advantage or disadvantage?
It depends. I would say the ones that I've seen, and the one most recently, I think our football coach enjoys having faster athletes. So when they do football and track, that seems to go over well, and they actually help each other in recruiting. And the last young person to do it ended up signing a contract with the Seattle Seahawks. So that was a plus, not only to show that if you have talent, they'll find you anywhere. This was a chemical engineering grad, 3.8 GPA, et cetera, but I don't think he would have gotten that much notice if he didn't live in both of those two worlds, both of those two cultures, to be able to take advantage of an opportunity that presented itself. But I've also seen it not work out so well, where there's missed practice time in the non-traditional season, which we really didn't talk about that. We probably should mention that, right? I'll let our spokesperson take it.
I'll start by saying we love two, and we'll take a three-sport athlete if we could find them. I know there are a lot of conversations about specialization and the impact of that on the long term. Does that potentially create, opportunities for injuries where there are overuse injuries for students? We have seen that our students, we had a swimmer play soccer goalie, something you will never see ever, and actually won us games. So over years, we've almost started to encourage it. We feel like it could be a differentiator for a student. So we want them to have the experience, because I think what we probably see is GPAs are higher in season than out of season. So for students who are in their championship season, multiple seasons, they just continue to thrive throughout the school year. There is the challenge with the missed non-traditional practice. So for your teams, we don't allow probably as much as some other schools. We're more restrictive in our non-traditional season, but our students have about 4 weeks with 4 practices a week to participate in their non-traditional season, and we just added 1 day of competition in our non-traditional season. So there is a way for our coaches to continue to have contact with, to provide leadership programs for, to train, but to also play a day of competition and see if we got better in that non-traditional season.
In Division II, our playing and practice seasons are very similar to Division I, which requires a little more time than Division III, although Division III is moving closer to, because it used to be when I was a Division III athlete, you couldn't do anything in the non-traditional championship season.
Those are NESCAC rules.
They're what?
I said those are
NESCAC.
NESCAC rules.
Those are
You're
NESCAC
European,
rules.
Yeah. Sorry, that's
Yeah.
a conference reference.
But I do think it's more of a time. We do have a few two-sport athletes. Typically, it's track. Track is typically the one that the other team sport people will participate in. And again, I think Donnie said it. A lot of coaches feel that that's if they're going to spend time doing another sport, track's a great second sport.
Thank you.
All right. So that concludes our panel. I want to thank a couple folks. One, the drama department, they helped set this up, but also Shrek is coming up. And if you haven't gotten your tickets to Shrek, I'm a Shrek fan. I'm going to bring my third grader. He's excited. Come and see Shrek. So thanks for the sound and everything to keep us sounding great. Our college counselors are here. They were instrumental in some of these questions and just kind of getting this off the ground. So thank you very much for helping this out. We have some of the coaches here. I know this is good information for myself, but also for the coaches in addition to the parents. So thank you guys. I know you guys have long schedules. Thank you for coming out and being able to pass this on to our current and future athletes. And then, of course, I want to reiterate the thanks and the appreciation for our Dragon Booster Club, who sponsored this, really helped to push this event so that the families have the opportunity to learn and grow our student athletes. Last and certainly not least, how about one more round of applause for our 4 panelists. Washington University, Colorado School of Mines, Pomona Pitzer, and McAllister. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate it very, very much.